believe there's 3 foundations of healthy relationships. I've had a couple different ways of presenting it over the years, but seeing the very first and most important is trust. Trust is what lets somebody get in close enough to be in a relationship. We're going to talk a lot about trust because when that's been broken, it doesn't repair itself. It needs to be repaired. Once you're able to say, my spouse, the other person in this relationship won't intentionally hurt me, then you can move to the second foundation. If you believe this person will intentionally hurt you, you can't enrich that relationship. Because survival is where that relationship is at. If a person will intentionally harm me, even if it's 1 out of 1,000 times, intentional harm is the biggest break in trust in a relationship, and I have to prepare for it. I have to watch out for it. It often happens in marriage. If it's rare when it happens, but it is significantly bad when it happens, then I need to be on the lookout. It would be a lot easier if we would give a heads up to our spouse when we're about to do something really stupid and hurtful. Like, schedule it. Saturday afternoon, I'm going to walk in and I'm just going to bite your head off for no reason, and I'm going to give a snarky retort to you. You probably would be somewhere else on Saturday afternoon if you knew that was coming. We don't do that. So if it's 1 out of 1,000 times and you have to watch and prepare for it, then what are you missing? This way you can fill something in if you have to. 999 times that it doesn't. You miss the 999 times that things are done well because you're preparing for this inevitable one from somewhere that is so destructive. But if you have a level of trust that says, okay, you're not going to intentionally hurt me. But even though at times each of us will. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you have that fundamental level of trust, then we can have effective communication. You can't have effective communication without that fundamental level of trust. Because if I share something with you and you use it as a weapon against me, then I learn it's better not to share things with you. But if I don't share things with you, then you can't know what's going on with me. At least until you're able to read minds. Once you're able to read minds, then this all changes. But until you're able to read minds, then the only way what's in your head and your heart is going to get in your spouse's head and heart is you have to communicate that. And everybody communicates. Not everybody communicates well. It's actually pretty simple and very difficult to communicate well. But once you have a fundamental level of effective communication, we are able to identify the problems, then we can move to the third foundation, which is conflict resolution. Conflict revisiting comes natural to us. To have the same argument over and over and over again. And it ends in one of a few ways. One or both of us get tired of arguing and give in, okay, whatever. Or there's a blood-curdling scream from a kid at the other end of the house, we got to go check that out, so argument's over, right? Or we got to go to work, or I don't know if it's ever happened to you, you're driving into the church parking lot and conflict erupts and you can't deal with it right then, so you put it aside, so it's over. Until the spark happens that ignites the flames again. So conflict resolution actually has it over, resolved. Now, you have to do a little bit of each to do the next thing. Trust starts it, but I see it like illustrated on the right, there's levels of it. Kind of if you see a spiral upward, that you do it at a level 1.0, that you have a fundamental level of trust, effective communication, and when you resolve the first thing, then it builds more trust. We actually resolve something, so I can trust you more. That helps me to share deeper and more honest with you, which helps us to solve bigger conflicts. And it's intended to continue to spiral upward to, at the end of a long life together, the only way things can get any better is that we go into the presence of God Himself. That's what marriage is supposed to look like. Just throughout the rest of life, it just, that last moment, the only way it can get any better is to look face to face with God. think of what that would be like in your relationships. But understanding these three concepts, the three foundations, everything else in relationships is an application of those. If you're struggling in finances, if you're struggling in parenting, dealing with in-laws and friends and all that, if you have these three foundations strong, then you just apply it in those areas. We can have a conversation about anything to find out what's going on in both of our hearts and minds. And then we have the skills to be able to resolve it.